Hey everyone, my name is Brady Whitten and I'm the pastor at First United Methodist Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we were just hit by Hurricane Ida, so I'm in hurricane recovery mode, but still wanted to bring you a word today as I think it's always good to hear a word from the scriptures, especially when we're going through difficult times. So I welcome you to The Word Meets the World for September 1st, 2021. Before I start, I want to invite you to do a few things. First of all, if you would like and share this video, that would really be a great help to me to help us get word out about it. And also, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and follow First United Methodist Church of Baton Rouge on social media. You'll find lots of great content coming from the church, Bible studies, worship services, music, and we want to be able to bless you in all of those different ways. So in this time, my plan is for us to explore a specific biblical text and to see what it might say to us about the world that we're living in today, and in particular, the events that are going on like right now. So our biblical text this week is Mark 7, 34 to 31, and our context is this day, September 1st, 2021. So the Biden administration is still under fire as the U.S. completes its withdrawal from Afghanistan. The U.S. Supreme Court this week allowed a Texas 6-week abortion ban to take effect, and Louisiana has begun its recovery from Category 4 Hurricane Ida. So we start with our text, and again, Mark 7, and I'm going to begin with verse 24. From there he set out and went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know that he was there, yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syro-Phoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Then he said to her, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." So she went home, found the child lying on the bed, and the demon gone. Then he returned from the region of Tyre and went by way of Sidon towards the Sea of Galilee in the region of the Decapolis. They brought him a deaf man who had an impediment in his speech, and they begged him to lay his hands on him. He took him aside in private, away from the crowd, and put his fingers into his ears, and then he spat and touched his tongue. Then looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, "Ephphatha," that is, "be opened." And immediately his ears were opened, his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. Then Jesus ordered them to tell no one, but the more he ordered them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. They were astounded beyond measure, saying, "He has done everything well. He even makes the deaf to hear and the mute to speak." So this reading from Mark highlights two healing stories from Jesus' ministry. One is the demon possession, a healing of a demon-possessed girl, and the other is a man who was deaf. And these two stories from Mark are unique for several reasons. First, where they took place makes them unique. So the first healing takes place in the area of Tyre. And Tyre was an important port city just north of Jesus' home base in Capernaum. Now, Tyre was a Gentile city. And Mark tells us that the woman Jesus encountered there was a Gentile of Syro-Phoenician origin. Now, the word Gentile literally means the nations, and it was used by the Jewish people to describe anyone who was not a Jew. And the second healing takes place in the area of the Decapolis. And this is an area that was to the east of the Sea of Galilee, and it was also heavily populated by Gentiles or non-Jewish people. So for many, the location of these two healings really gives the meaning of these healing stories. That the good news that Jesus brought was not just for the Jewish people, but was for all people and for all nations. And that is certainly a truth that is proclaimed in Scripture. But another unique element of these stories, and what I really want us to focus on, is the picture that they paint of Jesus himself. So many, and I think I fall into this myself sometimes, have a tendency to think of Jesus as just barely human. While we believe that he took on flesh, that he was in the human body, we also picture him as free from the many frailties of human life. Let me ask you, do you ever picture Jesus' stomach grumbling? I mean, we don't think of him that way. Do you think of Jesus as ever being tired or worn out at the end of a day? Do you think Jesus could ever have a bad day? So Mark often challenges this too heavenly version of Jesus. And one place that we see it is in Mark 7 and verse 24. And we read there that it says that when Jesus went to Tyre, he didn't want anyone to know that he was there. So he'd gone north, and when he arrives there, he's trying to hide out. Why? Why is that? So if you look back in Mark, which I always encourage you to do whenever you read scriptures, look back and see what happened before. You'll see that Jesus had been through a lot. He had been rejected in his hometown of Nazareth. John the Baptist, who was his cousin and a dear friend, had been executed. Jesus has been trying several times, you'll see in this whole section of Mark, to get away to a deserted place, but the crowds keep following him. Even in Mark 6:48, this is kind of a funny one, when Jesus walks on the water, it says that he intended to pass the disciples by, but then he notices they're in distress, and so he goes over to them. But finally, I think Jesus decides to get out of Dodge. The only way that he's going to get some time for himself is to go north, to get away from the people, and so he heads to this Gentile region in Tyre. And when he gets there, this is why he doesn't want anyone to know that he's there. Finally, a little peace and quiet. But then this Syrophoenician woman recognizes him and begins to beg him to heal her daughter. Now what happens next, the next thing that comes out of Jesus' mouth, is a little unsettling. This is what he says: "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." Now Jesus' meaning here would have been plain to the woman. The children that Jesus is talking about is Israel, God's chosen people. The dogs would have been the Gentiles, or this woman. And this was a common insult, really, that was used by Jewish people to their non-Jewish neighbors. So basically what Jesus is telling this woman is, I came for Israel, not for you. Now there are all kinds of attempts to explain why Jesus might have said this. Some say that Jesus was testing the woman's faith, that he really didn't mean to insult her. He was just testing her to see what she would do. Others say that Jesus himself was still growing in his understanding of his mission to the Gentiles, and that this woman plays a part in that. But I want to offer another possibility. Again, thinking about the humanity of Jesus. So he'd been trying to get away for some time. He finally left town to get away from the many demands that are put on him. And could it be that when he gets to Tyre, he's just at his wit's end? He's having just a bad day, and he responds to the woman from that place. You ever had a bad day? So can we allow Jesus to be that human? Can we imagine a Jesus who struggled with physical and emotional exhaustion? Was that part of who Jesus was when he took on flesh? So was Jesus simply having a bad day? What do you think? So thankfully, this story doesn't end there. The woman doesn't give up, and she presses Jesus, using a little wit, using a little humor. She says, "Sir, even the dogs under the table get to eat the children's crumbs." And with that word, Mark tells us, Jesus kind of snaps out of it, and the woman's daughter is healed. And so we have a happy ending to a short but tense encounter. So what do you think about this scripture? What do you think is going on here? Do you think that Jesus is testing the woman's faith? Was Jesus himself growing in his understanding of his mission to the Gentiles? Or was a fully human Jesus exhausted and having a bad day? I would just encourage you, whichever you choose, don't overlook the possibility that it was this Gentile woman with her tenacity, her wit, and perhaps even a prophetic word who helped us all by getting Jesus' head back in the game. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the world for a minute. Again, it's September 1st, 2021. We in Baton Rouge are in the midst of just beginning a recovery from Hurricane Ida, a Category 4 hurricane that hit us on Sunday and Monday. It's one of the strongest storms that's ever hit the U.S. So far, 6 people have lost their lives, tens of thousands have been displaced from their homes, hundreds of thousands are without water, and millions are without power. Now, I don't know about you, but with all the things that are going on in our world, I have found myself battling a little bit of compassion fatigue. Or maybe a better word is crisis fatigue. I know a lot of people who are experiencing this. Our lives have been turned upside down by the first waves of COVID-19 and now by the Delta variant. We've had to make adjustments to work, to school, to home, to churches. Following the George Floyd shooting, I know a lot of people really began to engage the hard work of anti-racism in our nation. In Southwest Louisiana, communities are still recovering from Hurricane Laura, which hit in August of 2020, and now we've been hit by Ida. I got to tell you, there are times where I just wonder, how much more can we take? But in reading this text from Mark 7, I found myself encouraged in a few ways. The first one is this: even Jesus got tired, so it's okay. I'm not Superman, you're not Superwoman. People often say, especially for those of us in helping professions or who are trying to do good in the world, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so one of the things I want you to know is it's okay if you're tired and it's okay to take a rest. I would actually encourage you, build times of respite into your schedule. One of the most important biblical practices is the practice of Sabbath, or just taking a day to just rest. The second encouragement I take from this scripture is this: we can trust God to meet us where we are, even in the midst of our exhaustion. So I learned a term a few years ago that really kind of challenged me, and the term was functional atheist. And a functional atheist is a person who says they believe in God, but then acts as if everything is up to them. And I got to tell you, I can be a little like that sometimes. But if I look back over my life, I see over and over again the times where God has met me exactly where I am and has helped me to find my way forward. So just like Jesus' encounter with this Syrophoenician woman, God has used people to nudge, prompt, and push me in the right direction at the right time. And what I want you to know is God will do the same for you. And so pay attention and watch for those God moments, those God winks, where God might be using someone to push you or nudge you in a particular direction. So here's a little push or a little nudge from me. Like I mentioned, if you're anything like I am right now, you're tired, and it's okay. Find rest and respite in healthy ways. But at the same time, I need you to hear this. We are God's hands and feet in the world, and God has work for us to do. So we need to rest. We need to take our times off. You need to build those things into your schedule. But at the same time, again, God has work for us to do. You don't have to do it all, but every possible contribution, no matter how small, tips the balance of light and goodness in the right direction. So what's one thing that you can do today to shine a little love and light into a dark place in the world? So we had our staff meeting just a little while ago here at the church, and we're discussing ways that we can respond as a faith community to Hurricane Ida. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to host work teams here at the church. We can offer them great hospitality and air conditioning and food as they go out to work. So there'll be opportunities for you to help out with that. You can also give in support of our church's efforts and other churches' efforts, our conference's effort, by going to our church's website and clicking on Give, and there's an option to give to Ida. You can also text Ida to 22525, and you can give a gift that way. So think about it. What are other ways? You can check on your neighbors. What are other ways that you can be a part of shining a little light and light into the world? God has work for us to do. So I want to thank you for joining me today. And again, encourage you to like and share this video, subscribe, like and follow First Methodist on social media. And I just want to leave you with a few questions to help you to dig a little deeper into this text. Here are the questions.